Gen 1 plus threat. And yet our oldest technologies like firewall and antivirus, the ones getting the most spending, thanks to these compliance mandates, right? So we have our geriatric oldest controls against our most modern, sophisticated adversaries. You gotta love it. And I'm not saying they're useless. I'm not one of the Luddites here that's just saying we gotta get rid of everything. But everyone that tells me that we have to clutch onto these, because what if we let go? We might get attacked by a macro virus from 1986 or something. They're forgetting that we're prone and exposed to lots of attacks. It's just you have to choose which ones you want to be exposed to. And honestly, I'd welcome a macro virus right now. So, the Department of Defense is kind of slowly figuring this out. I'm going to go, this is the faster version, but these slides are online, so you can take a look at these later. But even the usually way behind the times cyber folks in the military and the government are starting to kind of catch on to this. So really what we said is, what's our meme going to be? You have agile. Initially, this wasn't really to be a fight with agile. I know some very smart security professionals that say agile is the antithesis of secure software. I have other people like, talk to Michael Howard at Microsoft. They're basically using agile to bake security into their process. So you'll see later I kind of look at the frameworks indifferently. I think any of the frameworks or methodologies can be rugged. But if this is current software, this is rugged software. We debuted this in San Francisco, so we try to use some San Francisco lingo. If this is current software, this is rugged software, right? Le car. Oh, wait, there you go. Rugged. So software needs to be fast, right? We know that. It needs to be agile, whether you're using that framework or not. But it also really needs to be rugged, right? So what do we mean by rugged? The other problem I had is security professionals tend to be very demeaning, very condescending to the developer population. And I think that's wrong. I mean, if you want someone to do a better job, you don't tell them they're a stupid idiot, right? And that's all we were doing. We're saying they're ignorant, they're negligent, they don't care, they're not listening. So rugged was really meant to be more aspirational. The truth is, our software finds itself in very harsh environments. It's just reality. We like to think the internet is a super highway, but it's really a battlefield, right? It's a very harsh and hostile environment. It's unfriendly, and yes, that is moving. It's not just your fatigue. So I'm going to skip this point, but yeah. So we said, Agile has a manifesto, and the reason I did this is during the many cocktails at the Greylock party at RSA last year, I busted out my little BlackBerry and I did a search on the Agile manifesto. The word security doesn't show up once. The word risk doesn't show up once. Adversary, not once. Think of any name, not once. The entire Agile site. And I wasn't mad at them. I just said, they're developing in a worldview that does not recognize a hostile, threatening, determined adversary environment. So we're going to make a manifesto. So here's our manifesto. Please pardon the poetic language here. It's very personal language on purpose. So this targeted the development community. I am rugged. And more importantly, my code is rugged. I recognize that software has become a foundation of our modern world. I recognize the awesome responsibility that comes with this foundational role. This is my favorite. I recognize that my code will be used in ways I cannot anticipate, in ways it was not designed, and for longer than it was ever intended. I recognize my code will be attacked by talented and persistent adversaries who threaten our physical, economic, and national security. I recognize these things, and I choose to be rugged. I am rugged because I refuse to be a source of vulnerability or weakness. I am rugged because I assure my code will support its mission. I'm rugged because my code can face these challenges and persist in spite of them. I'm rugged not because it is easy, but because it is necessary, and I am up for the challenge. That's the Rugged Manifesto. So we don't think a little pledge of 10 lines is actually going to change the world, but what we really wanted to do was plant a seed and make someone on a personal level flip a bit in their brain that says, hey, I'm writing code, might as well make it rugged code, or I didn't realize people were attacking my code. So this was the idea to begin the contagious value set. So let me explain more specifically what we mean. So Bruce Lee learned all the different styles. It's not like, your tiger kung fu is better than my whooping crane kung fu or whatever. He learned them all, destroyed them all, and basically made his own. So we really don't care about your style. We care about the outcome. So there's a whole lot of religion in this space about you got to use this framework or that one's not good, or their top 10 list sucks. Don't care. We just want people to want and treasure and vote with their wallets software that's more rugged than other code. It's certainly, if you know me, it's definitely not about compliance, right? I'm not big on the thou shalt kind of stuff. It's not that you must and you shall not, you shall not. So someone asked me, how's this different than other stuff like BSIM or other frameworks and methodologies, or how's it different than OWASP? Well, first and foremost, most of our efforts are preaching to the single-digit % that already understands and values this. So they don't need to know how to do it until they want to do it, right? They have to value it. So first and foremost, we have to get beyond the choir, right? We're doing a very good job, have very mature tools. There's a lot of products, there's a lot of technologies, there's a static analysis, dynamic analysis, fuzzers. There's services, there's products, there's stuff baked in at the coding life cycle. So SDL and whatnot, there's plenty of stuff, technology, but it's really more about this. For this effort and initiative to have success, it has to get beyond the people who would come to Source. You are the choir. People who go to OWASP, they are absolutely the choir. So if all we do is talk amongst ourselves, this will be a failure. The second thing is it has to be about people, right? The people process technology trilogy, or trinity rather, was brilliant to put people first and technology last. But like good little addicts, we always go straight to technology, right? So if we don't have people who understand why I should want rugged code, why I should buy rugged code, why I should choose rugged code, deploy it, craft it, ship it, then all the technology in the world won't matter. It's fundamentally about values. And lastly, instead of being negative and looking for the worst in people, we're trying to look for the best in people. A lot of the a lot of the developers I worked with the first couple of years of my career, they're some of the only people who actually use their undergrad degree for their real job, right? They take quite a bit of pride in their work. They're some of the best problem solvers I ever met. And since they got me into Dungeons and Dragons and World of Warcraft and stuff like that, they also like terms like agile and rugged, So we don't necessarily think we're going to do this in a year or 5 years. In fact, David says, look, we're going to have software 100 years from now. If it takes 100 years, it's worth starting now. So we know we want to get to the moon. Don't necessarily know how to get to the moon. But what we're doing is when we share this kind of concept, interesting and talented individuals are coming out of the woodwork to offer their insight, their connections, their network, their strengths and weaknesses, their failures. I learned about this group in the New England area called AppSec. I didn't know about it before. They tried this. They had some successes, some failures, and now they're willing to put some wood and some help and effort behind this again. So it's aspirational in nature. And instead of looking for, I basically feel like some of the compliance regs are saying, you're a bunch of idiots, so we're going to force you to do something you otherwise would have done nothing. And I'm saying, well, if you can explain to someone why this is important, they may self-regulate. Even if their boss doesn't care about writing rugged software, ultimately, he who owns the compiler wins. So it's the hands on keyboards, and if they're choosing to avoid sloppy things, or if they read up on you go to their first OWASP meeting and read up on the common mistakes, then maybe, you change things one line of code at a time. So in any journey, there's multiple stages, and essentially, you got to be aware that there's a problem, right? You got to be aware of something I need to do, informed, but just enough to be dangerous. Then you have to seek more information, which is step 2. Then you can start to select which framework is best or which methodology is best for your software development shop. And then you can be mature in optimizing continuous process improvement. We've done quite a bit of work over here. If you know what BSIM is, or building security and maturity model, it's really looking on secondary metrics, second order metrics for the evidence of the things in common and highly effective, mature software development life cycles. But most of our activities over here. So this isn't really to replace any of the existing things. It's to be the onboard and the signpost pointing you to your very first OWASP meeting, or to learn about, maybe we want to have Veracode take a look at some of this stuff. Or we're going to seek out a university program that actually has an undergraduate course on writing secure software. And there's a couple folks doing that right now. So we pre-consulted quite a few people. You probably know at least 2 or 3 folks on that list. Not everybody loved it. A few on the list hated it, in fact, but they all fundamentally improved it. We did debut this at SANS AppSec, bless you. Immediately, the Department of Homeland Security has a huge budget for something called software assurance, and they're totally adopting the language wherever possible in an ad hoc way. Joe Jarzenbeck at the DHS is a huge fan. We're finding some guy was writing a book on software security and added a last chapter on how to be rugged. So it's grassroots and it's a meme, and like I said, they can be contagious or not. what we really, really need is a few leadership figures to volunteer and emerge. This is not a commercial endeavor. I happen to be the research director for 451. This is not a 451 thing. David Rice has a full-time job.